The Prime Minister was also defending one of his most senior ministers today after the federal ethics watchdog found Diane Finley violated the government's own conflict of interest law. Mary Dawson says Finley acted improperly when she overruled her own department and gave a $1 million contract to a project fronted by an Ottawa rabbi. National Affairs Editor Chris Hall has the details. Chris.
Peter, Diane Finley was Human Resources Minister in 2011 when she personally approved a contract to help a Jewish community center become wheelchair accessible.
I found that the preferential treatment was improper for a variety of reasons.
Mary Dawson doesn't mince words in her report. She says the application to renovate this community center had the third worst score among the 355 applications. And yet, Diane Finley allowed its sponsor to submit new information and to undergo an outside evaluation.
I was quite disturbed by it.
Dawson says it was clearly inappropriate to fund the project.
And I concluded that on the face of it, somebody's private interests were improperly furthered.
But Finley's actions are only part of the story here.
Deepest appreciation and my thanks to the Prime Minister.
Dawson's report referred to heavy lobbying by the sponsor of the project, Rabbi Chaim Mendelsohn. Mendelsohn has close ties to the Conservatives, seen here in India with Harper and here with former Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird in Israel. The report says Mendelsohn repeatedly called and emailed Finley's staff starting in May 2011, lobbying for the grant application. And then he turned his attention to the staff of other ministers and officials inside the Prime Minister's office. Dawson said a number of them intervened in support of the project. John Baird, with whom Mendelsohn enjoys a close personal relationship. Peter Kent, then Environment Minister. The project was in his riding. He spoke with the Prime Minister's office to ensure the proposal received fair and careful consideration, saying the Jewish community in Toronto was concerned about problems with other funding applications. And Nigel Wright, the Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff, who spoke directly with Finley's office and told Dawson he had been directed by the Prime Minister to sort it out.
What exactly did the Prime Minister know about this dirty insider deal involving his office, 3 Conservative ministers, and a dear friend of the Conservative Party?
Because the report makes clear I had no specific knowledge of these applications nor any preference in what got chosen.
Dawson says Finley could recall few details about the events leading up to her decision. The same with others, including Wright, who later resigned for his role in the Mike Duffy affair.
I just think there should be some transparency and accountability on how these projects are chosen, which is why I wrote the report.
But Dawson's report, while biting, comes without real teeth. She has no power to impose any penalty. Today, Finley was unrepentant.
It was clearly found that neither I nor any of my relatives or my family had any personal interest in this matter.
That, apparently, is good enough for Stephen Harper, who came to office promising greater ministerial accountability and an end to doing business on the basis of who you know in the PMO.
She believed that was in the public interest, and I believe she was acting in good faith.
Dawson says her report should be a reminder that public confidence is undermined when public officials don't exercise power fairly or manage the taxpayers' money with the highest integrity. What it hasn't done is undermine the Prime Minister's confidence in Finley. Peter?
All right, Chris, thank you. By the way, in the end, that project never even went ahead. Dawson's report says the bulk of the funding was withdrawn after the group was unable to get the necessary construction permits and ran into unexpected cost increases due to the state of the building. By then, the center had already spent $50,000 of the funding. It returned the rest.